All right, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. Here with my buddy, Luke DUSENBURY. I've always wanted to do this. I haven't actually done it yet, but we are legitimately sitting in front of a campfire on the last night of our Backcountry Mule Deer hunt, 2022. And we had a good hunt, didn't we?
Oh boy, did we.
So yeah, if the audio sounds weird, you hear some crackling, that's because we are literally sitting on a mountain about 6 miles deep in the backcountry on a beautiful night here. And I want to just use this opportunity that we have right now to just do a little recap because we had a great hunt. Let's just start from the beginning, man. So
Take us
I rolled
back,
into Idaho Falls.
Yes, sir.
And got greeted with a nice Luke DUSENBURY hug.
In the airport.
Yeah.
Hunter, I'm over here.
Yeah, man. So we'd done a podcast before in the past together, but we never met in person. We've been talking a little bit over the months, but rolled in, and then we had to just grab some gear at Sportsman's and some snacks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some caribou burgers for dinner.
Courtesy of Alexa.
Yeah. Alexa is Luke's wife. She made us some caribou burgers for dinner. And then the next day, we rolled out to an undisclosed location. Sorry, got to be super secretive, guys. But, and we did film this whole thing. So you will be able to see this hunt. It might be a little while. And I'm not going to say quite yet where you're going to be able to see it. But exciting stuff. And anyway, more on that later. But this was a film project. And so we came to this undisclosed location and we hiked in. Well, the first spot that I had found was a little flat spot about 3.5 miles in. And we got there, and then I don't know, I think you were kind of the one that was like, what? Well, because we were thinking there might be water at a small creek.
Yeah, we
before,
thought
but there wasn't.
Yeah, the first place you wanted to camp, you thought there was going to be a creek we were going to cross and then hike up to this little knob ridge thing and camp right there. But when we were hiking up, we realized there was no water anywhere.
Yeah.
On the hike in, and we're like, we both didn't bring any water on the hike up because we were hiking
very little, yeah,
with 8 days worth of food and gear. And
yeah, so when we started, our packs were like 70. Mine was 75 pounds at your house. Yours was probably about the same, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, we did add some. Maybe it was just the water. Or
yeah,
we were going in about 80.
Yeah. I think I maybe threw in an extra meal or two or something. I don't know.
So we had about 80 pounds going in. I think we had 8 days of food.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we decided to carry only one rifle between us, which was smart. That saved some weight. So I took the rifle. Luke took my extra camera, and we kind of split up the stuff. But with camera gear and stuff, like, it's heavy, but that's just the price you pay to make films. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So another kind of tip is, which might be obvious to some people, but when I was e-scouting this area, obviously I'm not from anywhere near here, so I called the unit biologist and asked him if there was water in certain creeks. I feel like that's something a lot of rookie guys kind of overlook, is the fact that you have to have water. Water's heavy. So and you just because there's a creek on a map does not necessarily mean there's water in it. So I actually called the biologist and was like, hey, is there water in this creek? And he's like, yeah, sometimes, maybe. But there's definitely water in this one, which is another 2 miles past that one. So that's what we did. We got to the first spot, no water. And then we decided to keep on.
Yeah, the weather was good when we were hiking in. And we're like, hey, it's been kind of a push getting in here, but, let's just go another 2 miles.
Yeah.
At this point, it's not that big a deal. It's middle of the day.
Yeah.
We need water, and there was a pretty decent camp spot that we found about a half mile from that creek.
Yeah.
But
going back though, so my original plan was to get to our camp spot, which I had actually. So I had 2 camp spots, one about 3 miles in and one about 5 miles in. My plan was get to the first one, see what the water situation is, pressure, if we need to, go to the next one. But my plan was to go to the far one, drop camp and everything, and then go back for water. But we get to the creek, and Luke's like, let's just suck it up and do it, man. So I loaded up 12 liters of water. You loaded up, what, 10?
Yeah, I think I have 10 liters of water in bladders. You have a little bit more than.
So we already had 80 pounds. I think we were doing the math that 12 liters is 24 pounds.
Yeah, I think 1 liter, I could be wrong. So there's 3.96 liters in a gallon. I know a gallon is roughly 8 pounds. So basically 4 liters is 8 pounds. I was carrying 10. I'm not a math major, but I want to say that's about 20 or 18, 20 pounds.
Yeah, so mine would be, I was carrying 24 pounds of water.
Yeah.
So 80, so we were over 100 pounds the last half mile.
Yeah.
And the last half mile is like all uphill.
Oh, yeah. And it was middle of the day, like 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
We already gone, what, 4.5 miles.
Yeah.
And the last half mile, we're carrying over 100 pounds. It was brutal, but
yeah.
I was glad we came and got here and had water, though.
Yeah. No, I'm glad because we sucked it up that first day. And yeah, it was like not the funnest thing, but it put us in a position to have days of water.
Yep.
Have water that's not too far away if we need to resupply, which we did have to. But it just put us in a really great starting position to start, okay, let's try and actually find some animals now that we're like in a good spot, in where we want to be, in the spot Hunter e-scouted and found for us. So
yeah, so we got in here. Luke suggested we drop a little off the ridge that I was planning to camp on to get out of the wind, which was smart. And we kicked out a camp spot, which is right here where you see us. And we set up our Seek Outside Cimarron, which Luke's what, 6'3"?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 6 foot. It was fine. It was definitely fine for us. We had enough room. I will say we set up a little tent tarp shelter over here to throw gear under, to throw some firewood under, meat later. And we had talked about, in which I think is smart, if you're able to, bringing a silex as well. Because not only can you use that to throw your gear under to save some room in your shelter, but also you can take it up with you on the glassing knob, or if you're back at camp at night and it's raining or snowing, you want to have dinner but you don't want to get in the tent yet, it's nice to have just something to hang out under.
Yeah.
So we made a little tarp shelter over there, which we actually did eat dinner under one night. But
that was one of my favorite nights, actually.
Yeah. We were all snuggled up in there eating dinner. But yeah, that's a good, if you're gonna do a Cimarron with 2 guys, try, if you can, bring somewhere to put your gear under, because especially if you don't want to drag wet packs and boots and all your junk in the Cimarron with you. Condensation's already an issue on these.
I was just gonna say that, on these mid-season hunts, where you got some snow and precipitation and moisture, and then even just sweat on your packs, it'll just condensate on that wall of the tent and drip onto your stuff, which isn't the end of the world if you have a stove or if you have days where the sun can kind of dry things up. But if you have multiple days of cloud cover and snow, those first 4 days, I think, that we were in here at this spot, it was just snow. And so it's all our stuff got pretty wet. I remember in the middle of the night one night, I felt a drop on my hand through my sleeping bag. And I was like,
no way.
Oh my goodness.
That's bad.
But hey.
I didn't know it was that bad. But so anyway, we were blessed because we hiked in perfect weather, got set up when everything was dry. We had the forethought to throw a bunch of wood up under our tarp, and we stockpiled a ton of firewood because we knew it was about to get cold too. I think we did some of that the first night. And then we got set up. We did, I think do a little glassing that night, or we didn't really have time?
I think we just basically hiked up, 120, 150 yards from camp and just glassed a little bit.
Yeah, we
but
looked
I don't
a little.
Think we saw anything.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. And then, but that night it rained all night hard.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So it rained hard that first night, and then Let's see, what did we do day one?
Oh golly.
I know. Okay, we got up, and obviously we got up.
I want to say it kind of went from rain to snow on day one.
No, okay, I remember. Day one, we started, I think, right up here behind camp, glassing.
Correct.
And then we went over to this ridge that's that way, and we're looking into the basin next to us.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And we were looking at that, and we were kind of like, it looks okay. We weren't like super happy with how it looked.
Yeah, it was really steep and rocky.
Did I find the knob that first day?
I honestly can't remember.
I think I did.
Yeah.
So we were, oh, hello.
But yeah, that canyon that was just past our camp that we thought was going to be money. It's one of those things like on maps, it looked money on maps.
What, this one right here?
Yeah. And then we got over there and it was much steeper than it looked. And just super rocky, not a lot of vegetation, not a lot of trees.
You couldn't see a ton. I remember, like we were both kind of like, it's all right. We weren't like super stoked with it. And then so I think we made breakfast up there, and it might have started snowing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, all right, I'm just going to go up this way a little bit and see if maybe we can see into this other side a little better. So went up there, probably just, I don't know, another like quarter of a mile or something, and found the bomb knob.
The bomb knob.
I don't know why, but like
where we spent all our days.
Yeah, as soon as I got there, I was like, this is it. I was like, it's like this huge bowl basin, and this one little knob just comes off into kind of like into the middle of it, and you can just get in there and you can see like almost 365.
Oh yeah, easily
360. I mean, you can see a lot. So I got up there, and like just other like videos and stuff I'd seen of hunts, like similar hunts to this, it just looked really good. Like again, I'm not a mule deer expert, but it just looked really good. So so then Luke came behind me, and I was like, dude, this is the spot. And for some reason I marked it on my go hunt. I called it the bomb knob. I don't know why. But what did you think when you got up there?
Oh, I thought it was perfect because not only would it have like that 360 view of the whole basin that we really thought was just going to produce some bucks, but also like particularly that whole north facing stuff that we really thought was going to hold them.
Yeah.
Like that was the best place to really see into the little pockets and grooves of those little ridges and depressions and stuff like that we couldn't quite see from our spot by our camp. And plus it gave us an elevation advantage because we were basically at the same elevation as the ridge across us.
Yeah.
And so we really could like almost see down like on our prey.
Yeah.
Like it would be a great spot, like, I don't know, like a pack of wolves to hang out up on.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, we decided, we got the weather report, and that it was going to get really bad and really cold. So we didn't stay up there till like the end of the day. We I think that's the day we came back and like started really stockpiling firewood and like kind of preparing for the storm, which actually was really a smart idea.
Yeah.
We came back and just like I said, we filled up our thing with firewood. I set up the stove.
Yep.
And which is like the stove I have is the Seek Outside large U-turn stove, super light. You know, it's not gonna keep the tent warm all night long unless you're literally feeding it constantly. Like, so if you're trying to sleep, you still need to be prepared for sleeping in cold. You know, in a survival situation, if sleep is less important, and you know, it's definitely good to have, and it's amazing to have to. You know, at the end of the night, you're cold, you're wet, get in there, you know, 30 minutes or an hour before bed, just kind of enjoy a nice little warm tent. But it's not going to just like slow roll all night, unfortunately. I think I was a little naive, thought it'd be a little easier to keep going all night, but a great thing to have, especially like I said, if something happens, like you slip in a creek, or you have some kind of safety issue, it could be a lifesaver, literally. So definitely worth it. I'm definitely glad we had it.
Yeah, or like we had later in the hunt, which we'll get to, but like having a day where it just rains or snows all morning and you're fogged in.
Yeah.
just having that fire is just kind of like a little bit of a morale boost.
Yep.
And
Kind
just
of something to
keeping you
do.
warm. Keep something to do.
So we got the stove set up, got all the wood kind of squared away. Then day two is the day we got water, right? Again? In the middle of the day? Yeah, because we didn't see anything.
Yes, because we had fog.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, let's go get more water.
Yeah, so we started glassing up here. Then some fog rolled in real heavy. We could not even see really. And I guess we figured we wanted to get water so we wouldn't have to get it ever again the rest of the trip, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we went back down, filled up water, came back, and then I think is that the day we went into the next basin too? Hiked over there?
I want to say, yeah, we did a lot of walking that day.
The days are kind of blurring together a little bit, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
but this is basically what happened.
Yeah.
And so the same day we got water, we also went over to the next basin to check it out, just to kind of see what was over there. But once we got over there, we saw some coyote tracks, and that was about it.
Yeah, there was nothing.
Yeah.
It just seemed like, you know, when you walk into like a place or a particular basin or something and you just don't feel life there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a vibe. I don't know. You're just like, dude, I don't feel like anything's in here.
Yep.
And that's what both of us just kind of felt after we glassed it
Yeah.
for an hour or two.
And we hung out and had lunch in there and just made sure. But and it's always good to go. You know, it's always good to have like your plan A spot, but then like have like secondaries and like, or just to know like what's over that next ridge. Like it might look bad or you might think you have the best spot, but like go check it. There might be something in there. It might, or you just check it off your list, you know? So if it's feasible to walk, just and that's kind of the first couple days of these types of hunts is really just like figuring out your area, you know, seeing what's here, what's there, like just kind of exploring and getting a lay of the land, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that day is the day we came back here to our kind of easy glassing spot right by camp. Isn't that the day we saw the first does? Or was that day 3 we didn't see till day 3? I feel like we didn't see him till day 3.
I think it was day 3.
Okay.
You just want to start on day 3 then?
Yeah, so that's basically what happened that day. Again, it's kind of blurring together, but this is basically what happened. And then, so day 3, we went to the knob, right?
Mm-hmm.
We woke up early, went to the knob, and we hung out all day and didn't see anything.
Yeah, that's like when we're like, we're going to commit, stay here all day.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have any more chores to do around camp. We got plenty of wood to last us arguably 7 days of bad weather. Like we basically did all those things. Like we're like, okay, now we can fully hunt.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And we didn't see anything.
But we were up there and the weather got bad. Like it was snowing hard.
Yeah.
And then that's when we're like it was so bad up there you couldn't glass. Like we were getting dumped on with snow. So we got some cool footage and stuff, but like we weren't gonna see deer in that. So we're like, let's just go back. It was still pretty much evening.
Yeah.
I think it was about 3:30.
But it was like dark. It was like already getting dark.
And you couldn't
clouds.
Right, and you couldn't see anything. So we came back here and I was like, all right, Luke, let's just take a look at this ridge right here behind camp, just for like, because we had kind of warmed up from the walk back. Like, let's just glass it for like a couple minutes before you go back. So we did, and I think you spotted them, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Luke spots like a group of, what was it, 5 or 6 does?
It was 7. It was.
Okay.
I remember the first group was 7.
Cool.
It was like basically 800 yards across the canyon from us.
Yeah. So that obviously got us, lifted our spirits quite a bit.
And they were like right on the snow line. They weren't like in the crazy thick snow. They weren't out of it. Like, so I was kind of like, okay, so we were like just getting some intel, you know, they're on this ridge right around the snow line. Okay, let's like remember that kind of a thing.
Yeah, and this is kind of something I want to hit on real quick. So when we're coming in too, we're about halfway in here, and we see this guy coming out, 2 guys, and he's like, "Oh, what's up? Like, what's going on?" Like, and we're like, "Oh, you know, where are you guys from?" He's like, "Well, there's no deer in here. Like, if you're not going all the way to 8,000, you might as well just turn around and go home because there's nothing in here. We've been in here 8 days, haven't seen a single deer." Blah 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 blah. And
He's already seen like 9 hunters.
Yeah, he's saying he already seen 9 hunters and all this stuff. And then we're like, okay, cool. And he's like,
total Johnny Raincloud.
yeah, it's like, how long you staying back here? And I was like, well, we got food for like 8 days. He's like, well, you're going to need all of them. And so, like, honestly, at first I was a little bummed. And then Luke was like, just take that with a grain of salt. And first of all, it was total BS. We did not see like anybody like after him. And also we knew the weather was coming.
Yeah.
And so just another little tip, guys, I've said this multiple times in the podcast, but just don't believe everything you hear from a guy coming down the trail or whatever. I mean, stick to your guns, stick to your spot. Like if you have, be confident in what you're doing. Obviously local knowledge is helpful sometimes too, but if you just got some dude randomly coming down and saying, oh, there's no deer, blah, 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 don't always listen,
Not at all.
So anyway, he's like, you might see like one random doe down here or something. But then, I remember saying to you, I was like, that's not just one random lost doe. That's like a group of 8 solid mature does like in our area.
They're on a mission,
And so this time of year, you want to find the does and stick with them because the bucks will eventually come down as the weather gets bad. So anyway, we can kind of fast forward a little bit, but basically we just were dealing with really cold temps. I think it got down to 15 like the next day. Lots of snow, kind of spitting snow off and on. And then we get to day 5. Day 5, we'd been seeing more does here and there from our glasses. No bucks yet, no bucks. Day 5, we had a really good morning. We spotted a bunch of does, and we kind of we were able to see where they bedded. And I was literally like every 5 minutes all day long, just keeping tabs. Like, okay, are they there? Yep. Okay, are these there? Yep. Because you never know if a buck could show up.
Exactly.
And I think it was about 2 or something maybe. I noticed one group of does got up and started feeding into the sunlight. And then Luke noticed something while I grabbed some more wood. Tell him what you noticed.
Yeah. So, we were just watching these does, just kind of walking all over this ridge that they've been working on the past few days. We kind of got them basically narrowed down to a certain area on this ridge. And we noticed they were always eating on this like green bush, which we're going to look up once we get back to cell phone service because we want to know the name of this bush. But we noticed that they really, really liked it. And this whole ridge had just tons of it. Anyway.
That's a good point. Like that we should, like... That's the other great thing about like the first couple days of a hunt. You start to learn like what types of areas to glass into. Because once we learned that they liked those green bushes, we were kind of just glassing into those and finding tons of deer.
Yeah. It was like almost like a deer magnet. These little green bushes.
We gotta do our research and figure out what they are.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
But anyway, so I see this deer like with its head down just into one of these bushes, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm looking at the other does next to it, and I'm looking back at it, and I'm just like, this deer looks slightly bigger, and its head is just like down in this bush like crazy, like almost like I've seen bucks kind of do that, like almost like they're like playing with the bush with their antlers or something. It just kind of like
his body was noticeably bigger.
Yeah, like it just something about the group seemed off with that particular deer, and then I put the spotter on him, and then lo and behold, I just happened to catch a glance of these 2 little antlers poking out above his head.
They're not that little.
They're not that little.
I'm just kidding.
These 2 antlers sticking up, and we're like, dude,
they're little.
We got our first legit legal buck. So we're pumped, and we watched him for a while, watched him feed on this hill, and to preface, we didn't really talk about this before. But Hunter and I had talked about this hunt and like how we wanted to like do it since we were both filming each other but also hunting, just kind of a unique dynamic. And so Hunter thought of the idea of like, let's just do spot it, got it. So like if you spot the buck, you get to decide to go for it or to pass. And so since I spotted this first one, I was like, I thought about it for a couple minutes and I was like, you know what? It's only day 5. We still have these 4 or 5 more days in here. The weather still looks like it's going to get continually worse. Like, I think I'm going to hold off and pass.
Luke has better self-control than me.
But it's hard. I hadn't shot a deer in 12 years and, or at this point I hadn't shot a deer in 12 years. And
yeah.
Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Gonna
No,
have
you're
to
good.
edit that out.
So, no, you're fine. So, like, Luke is thinking about it. I'm gonna put my jacket on. Luke is thinking about it, and I kind of go over to go to the bathroom, and I was like, all right, so what do I want to do if Luke says he doesn't want to shoot this thing? And I was just like, we kind of already talked about it. Like, we've said to each other multiple times, like, dude, this is a tough hunt. Like, you know, tough terrain. Just like, honestly, any legal animal out of here would feel like an accomplishment, especially for our first deer. So, first mule
100%.
deer. So, I kind of made my mind that, like, if Luke didn't want to go out for him, I was just going to go for it. Just like, you know, it's an opportunity. I personally knew that if, for whatever reason, we didn't see any more bucks the rest of the time, that I would be mad at myself for not shooting that buck. And like, I knew if we came out here empty-handed and I had passed that deer, I would have been annoyed at myself. So I don't know. That's just me. It's where I am in my Western hunting journey, and being my first mule deer, I was like, you know, and we were talking about it too. I mean, like, and we're not trying to brag or anything, but like, this particular hunt in this area that we're doing is like pretty much expert level hunt. Like, it's a very difficult, challenging hunt. Not saying you can't do it. Obviously, if I can do it, trust me. If I can do it, you can do it. But I don't know. It just felt like felt right. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. Plus, you know, I haven't done a ton of like stalks on these type of hunts. So like, just getting reps. I mean, you know, even if we did the stalk and it didn't work out, I would have learned something. I would have gotten the practice, because, you know, the nerves and the difficulty only increase when it's a huge, like, you know, 4-point or something.
Absolutely.
So I think it was a great opportunity for me to get some practice, to build some confidence, to get a species first, and, you know, now I can hold out for a bigger one on my next hunt. But I have no regrets, and so I let Luke. I was like, hey, Luke, you know, I already know what I'm going to do if you pass him, but I'm not telling you.
And I was like, well, I'm not asking you. So,
And he thought about it. I did not pressure him in any way, right? Did I?
no, there was zero pressure from you.
Yeah. So I let him come to his own conclusion, and then he said, you know what? I think I'm going to pass him. And I said, all right, you know what? Let's go shoot this deer. So yeah, so we basically we were on our knob. He was kind of 45 degrees this way up high. So we basically had to just drop straight off our knob, go down basically to all the way to the creek, cross the creek, go up the other side, excuse me, and we were just kind of hoping, really, we didn't know for sure, that A, the deer would stay there, and B, that we'd be able to get close enough and shoot uphill and have a good shot.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Luke kind of helped me think through the best way to do it too, which I was grateful for. You know, Luke's been on a ton of hunts, mainly filming, but like, he's worked with some of the best hunters out there, and he's learned a lot. So everything he said, I've taken as valuable advice, and he's been a great asset. So, so we dropped down. I was every 50 yards checking. Are they still there? And it was so cool because when we started off, they were bedded. They got up like they were kind of nervous or something. And then they started kind of feeding around the other side, and I was getting a little worried. But then as I kept checking, you know, I was praying. I was like, Lord, let them be there. Let them be there. Every time I checked, they were coming back, and they're just feeding right in the sun, right where we could see them. We could see them the whole way.
Yeah, it was
Perfect.
honestly beautiful.
Yeah. And so we get down there, across the creek. Luke's doing his thing, getting some awesome footage along the way. And then we get to 450-ish, which, you know, 3 years ago, I would be lucky if I could hit a 300 shot. So I've come a long way. I got a great rifle and optics set up. I got a Seekins Havoc Element and 300 Win Mag and a Loophole VX6 HD. I've spent a really good amount of time practicing with them in the off season and just getting comfortable. And, you know, I mounted the optic myself. So pretty confident in the gun. But this was a long shot, even, this was a long shot for me, where I am. So we get set up, and I can't get quite comfortable. It's a weird, the way the slope of the hill is, I couldn't get prone.
And you're shooting uphill at a considerable angle.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were on like this downward slope, but there was snow on the ground, and so it's super slippery.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically, not to like interrupt or interject, but like we kind of
No, you're good.
we kind of worked onto like the finger that was like basically catty corner from where the buck was at above us, and there was this one little like, I don't even know, it's not a tree well. It's almost just like this little bench above a tree.
Right, where like the erosion had kind of stopped above the tree, yeah.
And then that's like basically where Hunter dropped his pack and started to set up, and I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
So I just threw up the long lens on the camera on the tripod and got it set up on the buck, confirmed it was him, while Hunter was getting all set up and situated, and then I'll let you take it from there.
And then I couldn't really get prone. And the way the hill was, like, it would have been perfect if you were a lefty to get prone, but I couldn't get it right. So finally, I got Luke helped me by bringing packs to me. I got one pack up here. My bipod's fully extended on top of the pack. And then I finally was leaning back, put my foot up on the tree, and I had Luke bring me the other pack to put under my back as a rear rest. And then I'm like, literally like this. And, ranged him. I asked Luke to confirm the range for me. He did. Dialed it. I got one of those custom dials from Loophole where you send in your ammo information and they like send you a custom dial. So they like, for example, if it's at 450, you just go 4.5. And we managed to get the camera set up like with me in frame shooting. He had the deer in frame on his camera. Took 3 deep breaths and pulled the trigger and hit him.
Absolutely smoked him.
Yeah, hit him hard. Hit him right in the vitals, and we could tell by looking at the footage it was a good hit. And then we just kind of enjoyed that for a second, and I think we got some more footage and marked the spot on our Go Hunt app so we could go get him. And then it was we walked right onto him, and there were these 2 does like he was hanging out with that like literally like they let us walk within like 50 yards.
Yeah.
Like I would be walking right at her. She would look at me and then just start feeding again. And even when they never ran, they just like slowly walked away from us.
Yeah, it was one of the most interesting like interactions I've had with a deer in the wild. Like we were so exposed, like we were making tons of noise.
Like walking right at them.
Yeah, we were climbing up this like really steep rocky hill and like sliding all over the place and like and they just
did
didn't
not care.
It was the weirdest thing.
It was so weird. But got some good footage of them. And then without going into like too much crazy detail, we just went up there and got some photos, cleaned the deer, hiked down to the trail and back to camp.
Yeah. And it
Pretty
was
clean.
Pretty mild pack out.
Yeah.
We just basically hiked down, hit the creek, hit the trail, hiked up to camp.
Yeah.
Probably about a mile total. Maybe just over a mile.
Yeah. I think it was like a mile and a half.
Yeah, just over a mile.
But yeah. So yeah, pretty easy pack out.
And like we said earlier, it was a great weather day.
Yeah.
It was sunny and 75 is what it felt like.
Yeah.
Even though it was like 35 maybe.
Yeah.
But
and so the next day, okay. So all things considered, it was an easy pack out, but we were still we were a little sore.
Yeah.
Like we were a little fatigued. I remember
Definitely.
we both woke up the next day like, just, a little muscle fatigue. And, thankfully, I feel like the Lord's always doing this, but the next day was like a horrible weather day.
I think it was our worst one.
Yeah. It was, that was day 6. And at this point, my hunt basically is done, and Luke kind of becomes the hunter, which he's not used to.
Definitely not.
So I'm kind of like...
I'm trying to get more used to it. I'm trying to get more time in the field, trying to set aside more time.
Right. But I mean, even just more the dynamic of like making the decisions and like, here's
exactly.
what,
Yeah.
And so that's why I kept being like, all right, Luke, like, I'm with you now, man. Like, you tell me what you want to do. And so, and he did, like, he made the final call, decided that, smartly, it was dumping snow all morning of day 6, basically 0 visibility. And so, but it was nice. We got to hang out in the tent. We just talked, shoot the breeze, ate, and had the stove rolling and looked at some of our footage. I think Luke took a little nap.
I definitely took a little nap.
Yeah. Looked at
Like
some of our pictures.
A 10 a.m. nap.
Yeah. Looked at some of our pictures and just enjoyed the morning. It was cool. Like, and that's why I like hunting with somebody. Like, you know, if you're hunting solo, nothing wrong with that. I'm sure a lot of people love it. But for me, if I'm hunting solo and I got one of those mornings where you got to spend the whole morning in the tent, it can get really lonely and kind of depressing. And you start really thinking about home and like, why am I here? What am I doing? But having somebody to share the moment with and just hang out with was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but anyway, that afternoon, about 2 o'clock, it stopped snowing, and we were ready to stretch the old legs. So what did we do?
Yeah. So I was checking my Garmin like every hour, trying to get an accurate weather update, and for the most part, it was pretty spot on this whole week, with like our GPS coordinates and everything. But it said it was the snow was going to clear and that we were going to have partly cloudy and even partly sunny the rest of the afternoon around 2 o'clock. And boom, like clockwork, 2 o'clock showed up and the sun popped out, blue sky. And we're like, all right, let's go up and glass for, you know, 3 hours. So we ended up hiking up to the bomb knob and started glassing. Do you want to mention the other hunters we saw or no? Totally up to you.
Okay.
Okay. So we get up there and immediately I glass up a couple hunters that are maybe 500-600 yards away on the same ridge that we're glassing from. And this is the first group of hunters we've seen this whole time. And they just look totally locked in, just like on their tripods, just like glassing. Looks like they've been there all day, like just totally in their puffies, all that stuff. And we get up there and we're in just like our base layers because the sun's starting to come out, and we start glassing and we're just like deer, like just like.
And they were camped in the spot we were originally thinking about camping at first.
Yeah, we glassed at their tent, the whole 9 yards.
We saw a bunch of deer.
Yeah, I think we saw like 11 deer in 3 hours.
Yeah.
But these hunters, they like bailed and hiked back to camp at like 4:30. Like, so we kind of thought maybe they
saw something and we're going after it at first.
Yeah.
We were like, why are they leaving? But probably, sorry, I'm eating a packaroon. Probably they had sat there all day freezing in the snow and couldn't last anymore.
Exactly.
And we're up here like on the knob, like all rested and had a fire going and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of like what we determined was the case, because we watched them walk all the way back to camp. Meanwhile, we're just spotting deer and having a great time. We're like, dude,
yeah,
those guys look kind of like, their body language is just kind of like, you know, downtrodden, kind of miserable kind of thing. But yeah, we were having a great time.
And we also on our bomb knob pretty much every day made a fire just like this.
Yeah.
And like I have like some kind of weird, I've noticed like some kind of like circulation issue to my feet. It's actually pretty debilitating on these type of hunts. Like I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of heated sock or something. Like it's bad. But I literally would make it to about 9:30 a.m. and have to start a fire, like, because my feet would be like scary, painfully cold. So, but you know, it didn't mess up the hunting at all. Like we were able to just kind of glass and glass and glass until you need to kind of warm up and then go back to fire, and it was nice.
Yeah, having that fire up on the bomb knob was truly amazing. It reminded me a lot of like hunting with my dad as a kid, like on like late season rifle hunts and stuff. Like my dad would hike us up to this ridge and just build a fire.
Yeah.
We would just wait for something to happen.
And that's such like it's such a Western thing. Like that's so foreign to me as a Eastern whitetail guy. Like I remember like when I first got into it and seeing like content, like videos and stuff, like guys making fires. I'm like, what are they doing? Like they're gonna scare away all the game. Like
Not
why
at
are
all.
they making it? Like it's just a totally different style, a different way of hunting, and such a foreign. Like I would never imagine whitetail hunting and like just making a fire. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But yeah, it totally didn't mess. I even asked Luke at one point. I was like, "Do you think it?" What?
Oh, that was a wolf howling. Sorry about that.
It's okay. We have heard some wolves, but we've got fresh wolf tracks 50 yards from our tent, by the way.
No big deal.
But I remember even saying to Luke, like, "Do you think it's bad that like smoke is blowing like straight into our basin?" And he was like, "No, it's fine. It's a natural smell."
Yeah, totally natural smell.
It never seemed to matter at all.
No.
So anyway,
I mean, we had deer tracks on the knob multiple mornings.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, we were up there living like all day long for over a week. Like, our scent was everywhere, like literally.
Yeah. And so anyway, we hung out there the rest of the day, saw some good deer, hiked back,
Yeah.
made a little fire, had dinner, etc.
Oh, before that, this is afternoon day 6. So this is
I don't remember.
when I spot the buck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You spot, yeah.
Yeah. So we're just up there, just glassing deer. It's been like 2 hours since we got up there, and I think it was about 5 o'clock. I glassed up another small buck. This one was a 2x1 again, and I was like,
Very similar size to the one I shot.
yeah, like almost spitting image, and I was like,
A little bit deeper fork.
little bit, yeah. All about those,
Those deep
centimeters, those centimeter deep forks.
Deep fork Dusenbury.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was like, interesting. But I was also like, you know what, we got 3-ish more days in here.
Yeah. And you'd
with
already
the
passed
supplies.
the similarly sized
Yeah,
deer.
I'd already passed a 2x1, and I was like, you know what, I've never killed a mule deer, but I really would love to have an opportunity at a mature buck. And with this weather that's coming in, like, I really think if we just wait another day or two, we'll definitely get another shot.
Yeah.
And I really thought about it, and I was like, I watched him, put the spotter on him, put the phone scope on him, got some footage of him, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna pass again. It didn't, in the moment, it just didn't quite feel like it was time.
Yeah.
For me to make a decision and say, let's go for it, So we watched him bed down with the does he was with, and then we just kept watching for other deer, because we knew, like, especially with that weather system that had come in that morning, like, dude, it's only a matter of time, like, before these bucks got to come down. And yeah, I don't know, I kind of want to mention the whole "I need it" joke.
Do it.
But yeah, so we had this joke kind of running the whole time we were on the knob this week. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched SpongeBob. I've only watched a couple episodes, but there's
Don't
one.
lie, you've seen all of them.
I've seen a handful.
Dude, I loved SpongeBob when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And my son's watching it now.
Yeah, but there's this one episode where, like, I forget if it's SpongeBob or Patrick, but they're basically like, I definitely don't need it. And then he basically,
I don't need
I think it's SpongeBob. He's like getting tempted by something.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't need it. And then he's like, I definitely don't need it. And then all of a sudden he's like, I need it. And I was just joking with Hunter. I was like, dude, that's like exactly how these bucks are right now.
Yeah.
They're up there in probably 1.5 feet, 2 feet of snow. It's 5 degrees. And they're just sitting there with snow on their back or whatever. And they're just like, yeah, it's cold. Yeah, I'm maybe starting to kind of feel a little ruddy, but I definitely don't need it. I don't need to, like, chase a doe. And then we had that big storm coming on day 6.
And
then
I need it.
And then all of a sudden we're like, dude, these bucks have got to be saying, I need it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're practically saying it. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, so super big sidetrack. But anyway, end of day 6 comes, pass on that 2x1. And we come back to camp, and it's like the storm is totally rolled out, and the stars are just popping like crazy, just super cold, super clear, and the temperature just starts dropping. And that's like, and so this is last night. So this,
Yeah.
Last night had to have been 14, 15 degrees.
Yeah.
I think, or if not colder. It was very, very cold, very crisp.
It was very cold. Luke tried to get me to bring these, like, really heavy glassing mitts, and I was like, nah, man. That was dumb. Like, I underestimated the cold. Bring glassing mitts for sure. Like, my hands are literally, like, cracking. They're so, like, dry and, like...
And that's another reason to bring them too. They just protect your hands from the elements, like,
Yeah.
and getting abused if the air is really cold and dry. Like, your skin's more prone to crack. Like,
Absolutely.
It's not just to keep your hands warm; it's also to, like,
Yeah.
protect them. Or if you need to, like, break some sticks off a dead tree.
Yeah,
like,
my
you're not
hands
gonna
are, like,
cut your hands.
completely like hamburger meat at this point. And, like,
Yeah.
I've even heard other guys say they, like, bring, like, a little bit of lotion. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. But no, like, I actually, this is actually funny. Like, my hands were so dry. I brought, like, some salami with me My hands were so dry. Like, I cut myself some salami one day, and I noticed how greasy my knife was, and I was like, So I literally cut a piece of salami and was rubbing the salami in my hands to like get the fat and greases out of the salami to like moisturize my skin. And then like I did that like 2 or 3 times over the course of the trip because like my hands were so dry. I was literally rubbing salami on them. So
Yeah, I'm definitely bringing a little thing of lotion my next one because like my nose has been running like every single day, and I decided to not bring my neck gaiter, which I usually bring a neck gaiter too.
he asked me if you should bring it, and I was like, nah.
Yeah, never listening to Hunter again. Just kidding. Yeah, so like just having a little bit of lotion to put on my nose right now would be incredible.
Yeah. So, and then we forgot to mention, but yeah, one of those like really bad weather nights is when we sat under the tarp, which it's always nice to have that if you can, just to eat dinner without getting snowed on. But
absolutely.
So anyway, we came back to camp. We knew today was gonna be clear. So we just kind of knew, like, I just had a feeling like it was something was gonna happen today.
Yeah.
And Lex text. I want you to tell him about like Lex texting you and like not sleeping as well and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I texted Lex. I was like, "Hey, babe, I just glassed up another like smaller buck, and I decided to pass on him."
Which is his wife, by the way.
Yeah, Alexa's my wife. Alexa J. She's awesome. Best friend for life. But anyway, so she texted me. She's like, "Babe, I'm really starting to kind of miss you." And typically, she honestly like, I have the best wife in the world. Like, she typically doesn't say that a ton when I'm on hunts. She like kind of likes having her time. She's like a pretty independent person, which is awesome. Like, you know, it works out really great for what we've got going on in this stage of our life. But she's like, "Hey, babe, like I'm just starting to kind of miss you, and I don't think you should pass on another buck." Like just kind of subtly said that, and I was like, okay. And then I kind of like, I don't know, for whatever reason, like I just didn't like kind of tossed and turned last night a lot, and was just up thinking. And I think honestly, like the Lord was just kind of like talking to me and was just saying, "Hey, like whatever opportunity comes tomorrow, take it." And so I was like, okay, well, it's also gonna be like the coldest day, so like. And it was like the coldest day for the next few days. So I'm like, dude, if there's any day where a buck is going to come down from the high country, it probably will be tomorrow. And so we wake up, and it is an absolute bear to get up.
It's probably close to 10 degrees.
Yeah, it was cold. Our boots were completely frozen. I had to like jam my feet into my boots.
Yeah.
And
I'd had icy boots other mornings, but this morning they were like frozen solid.
Yeah, it was just one of those things you just got to grin and bear it. And just be like, okay, we just got to do this, get our clothes on really quick, and just start hiking. And so that's basically what we did. We had our packs already packed the night before, and we started hiking up to the Bomb Knob. And we get up there, and I mean, we're not even like fully, I'm like still like pulling out stuff from my backpack. And Hunter's like, "I got deer." And so I'm like, okay. And so like basically he spots a group of does up high on the same ridge. We've been seeing does every single day. And it's like 5 does or something. And then I'm like, get my spotter all set up, and then I find like 2 more, and then he spots like another 3, and then we're like, dude, we're just seeing deer like boom, boom,
They're
boom,
just
boom,
popping
boom.
up everywhere.
Yeah, and then I'm like, well, I'm gonna like check on the ridge that we're actually on. So I like whip the glass all the way over the complete opposite direction where we really haven't seen any deer, and I see 2 groups of does, like of 2 and 3 groups, just like right above us, and I'm like, dude, we're like surrounded right now.
Like all those spots that we had been glassing for days, expecting to see deer and not seeing them, they all had deer in them.
Exactly. Yeah. And they were, you know, a mix of bedded and feeding and just like up and down. And yeah, they were just moving all around. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But, and then Hunter pulls up his binos and checks where we saw that 2x1 yesterday. And he's like, hey, he's bedded and he's right back in that same little draw. And I'm like, no way. And we get the spotter on him, confirm it's him. And he's just bedded there by himself. And I was like, I know what I was like thinking last night. And I'm like,
he still was, and he already had said on camera, like, any legal buck, I think I'm gonna take it today.
Yeah, and
like,
I'd already done that update, and I was like, I don't want to go back on my word. And I was like, also like, you know, I was like, Hunter, I just need some time to think, man.
Yeah.
And so I was like, because it was only like 8 a.m. Like I'm like, and we'd already seen like 12 deer, and so I'm like, dude, literally anything can happen the next like 30 minutes. So like, let's just keep glassing. And plus, like, he was bedded when we first saw him, but then he kind of got up and was kind of looking around. So I'm like, I kind of think he's like maybe lost. or something. I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just wanted to kind of see what the morning
Yeah,
would bring.
it was wise to wait
Yeah.
a little bit. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
first of all, we wanted to wait until he was bedded and in a good spot. And also, yeah, like, it was still early. Like, there's nothing wrong with continuing to
Yeah.
look around a little bit. But
And he was probably about 2 miles away.
Yeah.
So that's the other reason too. It's not like he was just right there. He was like a solid 2 mile walk.
yeah, it would
away
have been
from
like
us.
a deal to get to him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I definitely like was not trying to pressure Luke at all. Like I said, I don't care. Like I want him to do what he wants to do, but at the same time, like I also like. I mean, obviously, I didn't pass on mine, and like I wanted you to get one, and you just never know like what's gonna happen. And I mean, to be honest, I mean, 7 days is pretty long in this cold of weather, and I wouldn't mind getting home an extra day or two early. And I was kind of like, Luke, just imagine, man, could have a full freezer, belly full of deer meat, snuggling up to your wife in bed tomorrow night, just kind of like gently nudging him.
Yeah, so I was like, let's just watch him a little longer and then just keep, looking at these other deer, because, any one of these other groups of does we had last up could have a buck with them,
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just bouncing back and forth, checking, looking. And then another time I bounced back at the 2x1 buck. He actually fed up to another group of does that were just above him that, he must have just been bedded with that we just couldn't see. And so we're like, okay, like let's just watch that group, now for a little bit. And so we watched them, and then they bedded down, and we're like, okay. And then they really bedded down, and I was like, And it was like right at 10 o'clock, which is roughly the time they've been bedding down historically this week. And so I was like, okay. I was like, really starting to think at this point. And I was like, Hunter, I gotta eat some breakfast right now, man. And so I just whipped out my little stove, started cooking on my oatmeal and peanut butter, and I was like, just really thinking about. I was like thinking about basically the whole big picture of it all. I was like, we've been here 7 days, hunting really hard. We've had such a blessed time, such a great time. We've seen a lot of deer comparatively to a lot of other friends that we have hunting mule deer right now too. Like it's been a really warm kind of October especially. And for whatever reason, everyone we kind of know who's hunting right now at this time is also having a really hard time finding does. But, on this hunt, we've been very fortunate to see does every day, and just in an increasing number, it seemed every single day.
Grab some wood.
So yeah, I was just really trying to while I'm eating my oatmeal, just trying to think about the big picture, and thinking about things like the whole rest of this fall, I'm pretty much just filming hunts like from here on to the end of November, and I'm not gonna have a lot of time at home for the next like 3 or 4 weeks, which is it's just kind of part of work, part of life, part of this time of year, as many of you know. So I'm thinking about that, thinking about, hey, like the last time I shot a deer or a buck, I was 15, and I'm 27 now.
See, I didn't even know that it had been that long.
Yeah, so it's like almost half my life. And
I mean, you were a kid when you shot your last deer.
Yeah, I was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you've been just grinding and working in the industry and
not
getting really much opportunities to hunt.
But yeah, and Hunter and I have talked a lot about that too. But like I truly find the same enjoyment, like filming a hunt and like being a part of it and just like helping, be a part of that story and obviously capturing it with a camera or what have you. Like I find just as much enjoyment doing that as I do, pulling the trigger. And that's like why it's never really been an issue for me to kind of like sacrifice my own hunting time like on the table for the sake of like, a cool opportunity like in the hunting industry or a cool hunt opportunity to go with such and such and hunt such and such species in such and such place. But
it's nice to hunt sometimes.
But it is nice, and I'm realizing that. I really realized that starting in 2020, I was like, you know what? I've got to start making more time like for me to do this like, for my own time.
Yeah.
And if I'm really gonna like continue to do work in the hunting industry, I want to have more tangible roots of like, this is what I felt in this moment. And that way I can take those tangible roots and apply them to the stories that I capture with cameras and stuff.
Interesting.
So I was like, and two, it's just like, I didn't want to get burnt out. I didn't want to like, only film hunts and then just like, I don't ever want to go hunting because I've just, I've been on so many hunts, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, like I want to sacrifice my own personal time for those memories and for that, because I know that whenever I go on a hunt, whether it's filming or whatever, I feel like I always genuinely come back a better person in some way, or I come back, I've learned something, or I come back and I had a closer relationship with the Lord that week and came back spiritually refreshed. You know, like I try and like, you know, that's one of the main reasons of why I do what I do. And I don't know, I would just eat my oatmeal, just thinking about all these things and also thinking about, hey, like, you know, I don't always get an opportunity to go after a buck, you know, with a rifle, and me with the tag in my pocket. And I was like, you know what? This hunt, this whole experience has been it's just an awesome thing, you know, like, let's just go for it. Let's just make a stalk on this buck. It's a 2-mile stalk. We're probably going to have mixed visual contact with him for a good majority of it. And I was like, but we still have, like, I would, you know, on pen and paper, if I was to write it all out, I could think it's still a decent odds of success. He's bedded, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, let's just go for it and just see what happens. And so Hunter and I quickly pack up our stuff.
I was like, nice.
Yeah. Hunter's like, dude, I'm ready. He's like, bag's already packed. And I'm just like, just eating my oatmeal, just thinking about all the big things in life.
Cause like, for me, like, I'm still, like, I guess guys that have hunted more Western, I don't know, I feel like they're more like relaxed when you're about to go on a stalk. Like for me, it's like, when I go on, like, when I see the animal and when I decide, like, okay, I'm going for it, like, I'm just constantly like, oh, he's gonna go away, he's gonna leave, like, there's no way they're gonna stay there, you know, like, I'm just used to, and I'm not saying by any chance I'm not saying it's easier, but like, we'll get more into it later too, but like, the deer I'm used to hunting, like, don't stay still that much, and when they do, like, if they have any idea you're even close to them, they're gone.
Yeah.
Like, instantaneously. So, anyway, but yeah, I was just ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, so Hunter's like fired up, and I'm like, all right, dude, let's do this. Like, he's like, I'm kind of feeding off his energy. And so we start just going basically straight down the bomb knob and hit the trail. And then we cross the creek, start hiking up the ridge where the buck is on. And pretty much from that point on is about a mile and a half.
Yeah.
And we don't have any visual contact whatsoever with where the buck is bedded down. And so
which always stresses me out.
Yeah, it's always a fun
like, I don't know if you saw, like, on my stock, I was literally like every 50 yards, like, checking if they were still there.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's always a fun variable when you, like, basically don't have any visual confirmation. But how I looked at it, I was like, you know what? It's not like we're stalking after, like, this insane, like, buck of a lifetime. You know, it's like we have days left of supplies. We have days left of time. It's only probably going to still get better.
I technically only had 1 day of food left, but
I would have shared.
But you had extra, yeah.
But and we had your mule deer. We could have eaten some.
Oh yeah, we have a whole deer we could have eaten.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was like, you know what? We're just going to go into a situation like it's low risk or, you know, medium risk, but it's not that big a deal. Like, we're just going to go for it and just see what happens. So
and the Lord doesn't want you to kill that deer. He can just walk off.
Exactly. So we're going, and we basically get about, I don't know, 150 yards from where this little depression where they bedded down in. And I stop and I'm like, all right, Hunter, like, I honestly don't really know where these deer are at, because you can only do so much from glassing them up from 2 miles away and then dropping a pin on your maps and being like, okay, I think they're right here. Like, and then kind of guesstimating, like, once you get over there, it's just, everything kind of looks different.
Totally different.
So I was like, all right, like, I'm going to take the rifle cover off and put one in the chamber, and this could very well be a still hunt situation. Like, I really don't know.
And he handed me his kind of like running gun camera setup that's more set up for like over the shoulder style filming, not necessarily like when you have a long time to set up a shot.
Yeah, like, it's just like, boom, there it is, kind of set up. I was like, I think this is the best setup for this situation. If it turns into something else, we'll just change the camera setup or whatever. But I was like, let's just roll with this, because it could get Western. I'm like, dude, we could have like a 50-yard shot. I have no idea. But anyway, so we get the rifle set up, and then we just start slowly just creeping up the trail, glassing every 20 feet or so. And then we basically get around this corner where they were bedded, And I just pull up the glass to see, and boom, I've got a doe in my binoculars at like probably 90 yards, and she's just looking right at me, and I'm like, I just freeze.
Oh, she was staring at you?
Oh yeah, just staring hard at me. And I'm just like, oh no. And then I just don't move. And then I keep my hands in my binos, and I just take one step back, so I'm kind of hidden behind a tree. And then I just turn to Hunter, and I'm like, I give him the signal of doe. And I was like, there's a doe right here. And I was like, I can't see anymore. I can't see the spike, or the spork. We determined 2x1s. We call them sporks.
Sporks.
But yeah, so anyway, so we're looking. I'm like, dude, I don't have visual. I only see one doe. And I was like, just come up to me and just stay right here. Like I was just whispering all this.
Yeah.
And so then I get back on my binos, and there's another doe standing next to that doe. So I got two of the 4 deer. I was like, okay. And then I can see the butt of another one just to the right. And I was like, okay, I've got 3. And then that one turns, and I'm like, okay, those are the 3 does. Where's the spork? And so I'm looking all around. I'm like, I can't find him. And I'm trying. And I was just like, honestly, I just need to settle down a little bit. And so I just kind of like slow talk myself. I was like, okay, like it's not a big deal. Like they've seen me, but they're not spooked. Almost like the doe that saw us when we were making the stalk.
Yeah.
Over to Hunter's buck. So
and again, like I'm a little frantic because, and like, yeah.
Because you didn't see him. You couldn't see him.
I couldn't see him at first. And then, again, just going back to, I'm used to hunting whitetails where like, especially like inside 100 yards, if they like even glance at some movement, I mean, they're gone. Like, so I literally think that like we're busted any second. They're just going to like bounce off. So I'm kind of freaking out a little bit, like trying to find him in frame, and like I'm using your camera. It's a little different. In retrospect, like I really wish I had taken my time and like realized, okay, they're not spooked, and like actually pulled my pack off and gotten my big long lens out and set up a shot. So, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit here, but ultimately I want you to continue the story, but just on this train of thought, I didn't get the shot on video as well as I would have liked, just because it was such a kind of like a frantic moment. Like,
yeah.
That's
no,
just
it was
a learning.
Intense.
Yeah, that's a learning experience for me.
Oh, and me too.
Is that like I should have? You did a really good job. I want you to continue your story too. I'm kind of going on a rabbit trail.
No, you're good.
You did a good job of waiting and like for the right shot. So this is a big learning point for me. Like, if they're not spooked, if you think you got time, like, and maybe it doesn't apply to everybody, but I should have just calmly, casually gotten my camera out. But anyway, I was a little frantic, and the video is not like as awesome as I wish it would be, but we got it on camera.
It's
so.
on video.
Anyway, so
yeah, and
take it from there. So you see the does, and then what's going on?
Yeah, so I've got them basically right at 110 yards, and I'm kind of playing that like game in my head of like, okay, I feel pretty steady offhand right now. Like my heartbeat's collected, my breath is collected. Like, I'm shouldering the gun well. Like I feel good. But I was like, you know what? Like, I think just for the sake of the moment, I would rather have the assurance of just dropping to a knee and getting my pack off.
Which is so smart.
And getting my rifle in my pack.
Yeah.
And I was like, and like the deer don't seem that spooked.
Yeah.
And there was like an opening that I thought they were going to run into. And I was like, if worse comes to worse, I can maybe try and make a sound and stop them in the opening if they run, or just, who knows?
Yeah. That was a wise move.
So I take my pack off, drop it on the ground, and then I basically just kind of lay back into the side of the hill, and get the rifle on top of the pack lid. And I have at this point I have visual confirmation of the buck, and
somehow I was able to we were able to communicate which deer was him.
Yeah.
And like I got him somewhat in frame.
Yeah, and all this is happening like we said, like in 110 yards. So it's like,
and admittedly I'm freaking out.
Yeah, and like we're in the timber, like it's like kind of thick, like.
Oh yeah, it was very thick. You couldn't really see. It wasn't like an open.
Yeah.
It was like I was trying to see him through which one's him, like identify, like trying to see him through brush.
Yeah.
And again, admittedly, I was kind of freaking out because I'm just not used to deer like giving you that much time.
Yeah. No, and so I get set up and comfortable, but then like most things in hunting, whenever that happens, that's when the deer moves from broadside to behind a tree
Yeah.
or quartering away from you or quartering. And just because of the situation, I was like, I really want to make sure the shot is good. Like, I don't want to have a bad shot or waste any meat or have anything that can go wrong. Basically, I was like, I just want to really make sure.
Yeah, you were really patient.
Yeah, I was like,
You even said that in the moment.
I was like, I want to be overly patient, and I'd rather have the moment get blown because of that.
Yeah.
Or not happen.
Which
at
is
all.
a very mature move that like a lot of guys don't do. So like kudos to you on that.
I appreciate that, Hunter. But yeah, so I just basically got set up, and then I basically watched him feed quartering towards me for about 3 minutes, and all the other does are just walking around doing whatever. And then
I'm freaking out.
no, you kept your cool, Hunter, dude. But yeah, so we got set up, and then basically that buck just slowly started to turn broadside, and then he got behind this tree, and then I was like, okay, Hunter, are you on him? Because when he walks past this tree and stops, I'm going to take a shot. And he's like, I'm on him. And so we basically just waited another 30 seconds, and he just took a few more steps and stopped. And I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot him. And then...
Wait, also, one more thing for that. Whenever I shoot, I only put a earplug in my left ear. It seems like it's the only one that, when you're the shooter. And I didn't know how close we were to the deer, so for some dumb reason, I only put one earplug in on my left side. And I was like, well, I'll just make sure I'm videoing from his right. And so
there was like a circus, and you like got my left side.
Yeah, like somehow like right in the end, like right at the last moment, I had to switch to the other side, and I was like, I knew it was coming. I was like, I'm going to have to try my best to not flinch. I'm hand holding the camera.
With a 300 Win Mag.
And there's a 300 Win Mag with a break literally like 3 feet from my face about to go off. Yeah. And I just knew it was coming. I was like grin and bear it. Just like, get ready.
Yeah.
So I did my absolute best. And we got it on camera. Like I said, it's not quite as good as I would have liked, but...
Yeah, but it was
terrible.
It was a raw and real moment. It was just like, boom, there they are, and then okay, there's like a bunch of timber, don't have a shot, have a shot, have a shot, don't have a shot, have a shot, don't have a shot.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he walks into this small opening in the trees, stops broadside. I'm like, all right, I'm taking him, and then just gave it a breath, and then just squeezed it off. Shot felt super solid.
Yeah.
Does took off up the hill. In the heat of the moment, the gun kicked back. I got out of the scope, couldn't get a visual back again, but I thought I saw him running downhill.
And that's the only thing I'll say about that 300 Win Mag is it's really hard to see what your animal does because of the amount of recoil.
Yeah.
I got my suppressor, should be coming to me anytime now, but that's the only qualm I have about that gun is I've never really been able to fully see what happens to an animal because you just kind of lose it.
Yeah. But the shot felt good. I felt like I had a good squeeze, good pull. Didn't jerk it or anything. Had a good rear rest. And then immediately I was just like, all the emotions came over me. I was like, dude, no way that just happened. Like, that's crazy. Like, that happened literally flawlessly. Like, they were right there.
Yeah.
Honestly, didn't really expect that. And just such a close shot. You know, that also doesn't always happen a lot. A shot within, 100, 120 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Hunter and I just kind of preemptively celebrate. Just we're like, dude, I just killed my first mule deer. Like, I just got all these thoughts running through my brain. And we basically give it like 20, 30 minutes. And we're like, okay, like, let's like just kind of ease our way down there and just kind of like see. And I had one in the chamber just in case. And then we're starting going down through the snow. And then lo and behold, about probably 50 yards from where I shot him, I just happened to see this gray body looking thing by a log, and I just pulled my binos and I'm like, he's right there.
He pretty much died instantly and slid down the hill a little bit.
Couldn't have, like, I don't know, I was just so thankful that it was a good shot, didn't suffer, just piled up right there, no meat was lost.
Yeah, actually, I noticed that when we were cleaning him, both shoulders were completely intact.
Yeah.
Mine has a pretty good bullet hole in one of its shoulders, but yours, I think all your quarters were like fine.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit of the tenderloin got kind of burst, from from the impact of the internal organs and stuff. But
So it was a perfect shot.
yeah, super
And
happy.
then, yeah,
beautiful little buck. He was.
He was.
He's had a good little.
Healthy.
Yeah, he had some fat on him and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's like, our freezer's now full. I got some deer legs for my dogs to chew on. My wife is happy that we're headed home tomorrow. And I get to have a few extra days at home with her before I leave for my next hunt, which if I would have stayed and tried to, hold out for a big buck or something, I would just be basically getting home, repack my bag, shower, kiss my wife goodbye, and then get out on the next one.
And there's no guarantee that big buck would ever showed up either.
Exactly. And
then you would have really not slept good.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a cliche, but it's also not a cliche. But it's like bringing home some meat is better than nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like and antlers too, and it's a tag that's filled, and a great memory. And I crossed mule deer off my list. That's.
And the whole thing about like don't pass something on the first day that you wouldn't shoot in the last. And,
yeah. Which is a lesson I learned hard this year. I passed on a spike bull during archery elk, and I was like, I had 5 days left, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take this shot. He had no idea I was there. Totally could have killed him. And then lo and behold, 5 days later, I came up empty-handed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang it, like that sucks. Like.
Yeah, I just knew, like, for me personally, I knew, like, if I didn't get another opportunity, and we did this tough hunt, and especially coming all the way from Virginia, like, I knew I'd be disappointed. So, but I think, yeah, and just the story of like both of us, first hunt together, first time meeting in person.
Yeah, literally.
And we come back here on a really, I know we keep saying it, but a tough hunt, and both tag out in our first mule deer. It's just a cool story.
It's a special story.
Special memory.
Yeah, it's something I'll never forget.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, we got it. We got them cleaned up, ate a little lunch down there, stashed the meat in a safe spot, came back to camp, and then so we texted some buddies and let them know what was going on, and his wife and dad, and then basically we got back here and cooked up we got camp kind of started to break down, so it's a little easier on the morning to get out of here, and cooked up the tenderloins for my buck.
Oh, it was insane.
Had some mule deer tacos. It's kind of for tradition. It started in Kodiak. Me and my buddy Ned on that trip made Kodiak blacktail tacos. And so then I did it this year with my Wyoming antelope with Cam, my videographer. And then I just happened to have 2 tortillas left and 1 little thing of cheese. And so we cooked up those tenderloins and had some mule deer tenderloin tacos.
It was absolutely insane.
You liked it?
So good. Yeah, I don't know why, but like I actually really love the taste of mule deer.
Yeah.
It's like,
and we seasoned the meat. I put some salt and pepper on there like about 20 minutes before we cooked it so it could soak in a little.
Yeah, I guess I always kind of like heard that it was like kind of sagebrushy or what have you. But
yeah.
Like, the past few times I've had it, I've like really enjoyed it. I've had some mule deer from Brady Miller. I've had some mule deer from Chris Neville, like 2 of the guys that go hunt. Like, and both times I've had it, it's just been phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to Luke too. Like I heard a lot of people say about certain species, oh, those things don't taste good or whatever. In my opinion, if meat is properly handled and properly prepared, it doesn't matter what kind of animal it is, pretty much, it's good. I think people maybe have one bad experience because like, maybe the meat got dirty, or maybe someone rubbed it all over a sage bush and that's why it tasted sagey.
Yeah.
Or
who
like,
knows?
Put it straight in some icy water and it just gets, all messed up. So if you take care of your meat and like make it well, I've never had anything bad, honestly. Like, so that's a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I guess in closing, do you have any closing thoughts before I kind of?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my closing thoughts would be along the lines of just, number one, extreme gratitude to you, Hunter, for allowing me to not only come out here with you, having never met you, but also to hunt, not just film. Like, yeah, that's man. Like, I cannot say thank you enough for that.
Well, thank you for accompanying me on the adventure and helping me capture it.
Absolutely, dude. And I hope there's many more.
Me too.
But yeah, I would just say extreme gratitude. And yeah, just an amazing memory that I'll truly never forget. Get my first mule deer, first buck in 12 years, and hopefully, there's many more mule deer hunts in my future where I can
this
maybe
is a good
get
start.
a mature one. But
this is a good start.
Great.
Next, we're gonna kill some big ones.
Great start, absolutely great start.
And I'm gonna be going on another mule deer hunt here in about a month in Montana. So now that I got the species, I got it under my belt, and a mule deer. Now I can hold off a little bit for maybe a bigger one, but yeah, man. Same goes here, man. I really enjoyed our time together. I
learned a lot on this hunt too. Like, because I've been on a number of mule deer hunts, but like, it's always a little different when you're obviously like have more of like the hunting role as opposed to just filming it. But I feel like I really learned a lot about mule deer, like what they like to eat, kind of some of their habits in this time of the season. And so it was just a really good, like, educational, like, basically week for me of just learning, more about mule deer and more about, like, different ways to hunt them and stuff like that. So
for sure, me too. Same goes on that front. And also I learned a lot about backcountry hunting in very cold weather. Because all my other backcountry hunts have been like August Alaska hunts or spring bear hunts. This has been my first like true backcountry, really cold hunt. So I learned a lot too. Yeah, man, totally enjoyed hunting with you too. Like, thank you for joining me. I know you have lots of big clients that, you could go on hunts with and stuff. So I appreciate you coming out and kind of giving some of your time to hunt with me and help capture the story. And I just want to say to you guys out there in closing that as I always say, if you have the right tools and you do your research and do your homework, a lot of people like to get negative and whatever, but the adventures are out there. The opportunity is out there. If I can do it, you can do it. Like, I didn't have any insider information, no industry knowledge to help me find this spot. I called around some people that lived around here. Again, not like industry people, just like people that knew the area and like friends and friends of friends or whatever, just asking questions and, called the biologist, people like that. And then I just e-scouted and I just used common sense and what I learned from different tools and resources and just picked the best spot I could find. And it turned out being a really good spot. And I'm no expert, I'm pretty new at this. I'm from the East Coast, but yeah, if you really want to find the adventures, they're out there. They're waiting for you. So do your research, get the right gear, make sure you're being safe and smart, have somebody with you. But just get out there and enjoy God's creation, have an adventure, and tag a spike and be happy with it.
Exactly.
It's great watching these awesome hunters and all these guys that are like friends and mentors of mine. And I hope to one day be able to come in here and pull out giant 180 bucks and stuff. Yeah, heck yeah, I'd like that. But it's a process and it's a learning and it's a growing and I'm going through that process right now. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being an expert. I'm okay with walking out of here, my head held high with a spike buck because we worked hard for it. It's nothing was handed to us, and it's a beautiful animal, and I'm stoked, and I know Luke is too. So I hope some of this content that I'm putting out is helpful to you guys, inspires you. Maybe you don't got to wait years to go hunt on some primo unit. Get a general tag like this one, over-the-counter tag. Go out, get some reps, practice a few stalks. Take a smaller buck if you get the opportunity, and then when you draw that 4 or 5 year draw tag or whatever, you'll have some more knowledge under your belt. You'll have some experience. So yeah, get out there and do it, and just enjoy.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Cool.
Just have fun. That's truly what it's all about. Having fun, enjoying God's creation, fellowshipping with others. Couldn't have said it better myself, Hunter.
Yeah, man. All right, brother. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you on the next one.